oppressive forces get you some. And it's about like success and prosperity and like all of the things. But anyways, welcome. I was battling whether or not I was going to come on today because I am a little bit tired and I still have like stuff to do. I just got out of the animal communication and then I have soul school in a couple of hours. But I did want to get on here because I told y'all yesterday that I was going to hop back on and we were going to kind of continue the conversation. Yesterday we were talking about, compassion versus empathy. We was talking about people living above the human experience. We were talking about how uncomfortable experiences are necessary because it's how we grow, it's how we evolve, all of those things. And how we are the answer to all the problems or issues that we have because we are the living memory of Earth, you know? So those are the things that we were talking about yesterday. Today, I'm just going to kind of pick back up. I wanted to get to the part where we were talking about Saturn and what they were saying about me thinking that Saturn might actually be a void, like a wormhole, just like the sun is a portal. Like I think Saturn is also a portal, but I'm not 100% sure. These are all my theories and things that I'm like from the channel messages that I'm getting. These are things that I'm putting together. It does not mean that it's truth, like bang the fucking the gavel, but it's just new ways to look at reality, you know, new possibilities. I think that we are kind of starved for truth and that we have all been following one truth or one person's version of the truth. And I don't want us to do that moving forward because I genuinely believe that truth is supposed to be shared and truth is supposed to be specific to the person, not everybody, you know, but when everybody starts operating off the same truth, it makes it easy for us to be manipulated and stuff like that. And I don't like that. And so we got to start figuring out life from our perspective and we got to start figuring out our own truth. And so that's what I'm doing in this space, is trying to open up space for us to just kind of talk about where we are and me to share the truth from my perspective or things that I'm finding. But I just want y'all to know everything is all in progress. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Hold on. Let me drink some water though, because I'm a little bit parched. Thank you. All right. So I'm just going to hop back into it. So the next thing that I got was that creativity is birthed through suffering. That one got me. Because I think I talked about this like a couple weeks ago when I was talking about how they go to the hood specifically for talent. Anytime they're looking for talent, anytime they're looking for innovation, anytime they're looking for any of that, they always end up going to the hood, you know, extracting the talent and then putting them in some type of 360 deal or something that siphons their fucking energy so they can use it for their own benefit. And so Spirit was saying creativity is birthed through suffering or the death cycle, meaning like you have to go through transformation. You have to get uncomfortable. The death cycle is when we have been emptied out. We have been emptied out in order to see what remains when all the material things are gone. Because it births new ways of looking at life. You have to become a different person to get out of it or discover a new truth to fill yourself up again. That's why they go looking for talent in the hood, because suffering causes innovation. Hey, Hydra. Suffering causes innovation, but the goal is to find something worth suffering for. Okay. Because life is going to, like, we're always going to have to go through these death and rebirth cycles. Like it's a normal part of life because we're in the realm of sin, which really is just short for sine waves. Hey, Kiki, which is really just short for sine waves, which means that we go up and then we go down, then we go up, then we go down, then we go up, then we go down. Right. And so if you're going to be suffering, you want to make sure that you're suffering not for just the sake of suffering. You're suffering for something that is meaningful to you. For example, in these last 5 years, I've been building my business. I've been building my platform. I've been putting myself out there, allowing myself to be more visible, right? In the process of me doing that, I've had to shed so many different versions of myself because I had trauma and I didn't realize that sometimes the trauma was driving me. Sometimes the trauma was informing me. Sometimes the trauma was shaping the way that I was showing up in certain situations. And it's like, no, like, you have to become the version who actually can hold this. That's why I also feel like entrepreneurship is the best thing you can do for yourself, right? Corporation gives you an easy way out so that you don't go after your dreams. You're chasing somebody else's shit. But when you go down the entrepreneurship path, I promise you, I've been an entrepreneur. I started my first business in 2015. Okay, 11 years ago. I have learned the most about myself through me starting my own business, about like the way that I'm looking at my worth, about my self-respect, about my lack of boundaries, about how I won't price myself appropriately because I don't think anybody's going to buy it. Like I've learned so fucking much about myself. And so you got to find something that's worth suffering for. In these last, this is like, and one thing you got to understand about me, anybody who know me in the real life, I'm never without the funds. I'm never without the money. Okay. I would chase the bag down. Okay. And it ain't no getting away from me, bitch. I'm a tourist. We gonna figure it the fuck out. And I've always been like that. Hey, Tammy. And I've always been like that. And so I've always had little side gigs. I always had multiple hands in multiple pots. But in these last couple of years, I've had to really learn how to trust in my own magnetism. I had to trust in what and believe in what I was doing, you know, in the path that I had chosen for myself. And so in the last, I would say 2 years, I've really, really struggled. But that struggle birthed me. Like, to be honest, that struggle is what shaped me into this version of myself. It's the reason why I get to show up here and speak my truth. It's the reason why I know what the fuck my truth is, you know, because I had to be emptied, right? I went through a process of suffering and I had to be emptied, because when you emptied of all the material things, you don't have nothing else to tie your worth to, right? If you take all the shit away that you tying your worth to, hey, baby, hey, Cosmic Beauty, when you take all the things away that you've tied your worth to, you have to figure out who you are outside of all that shit. And I had to do that. And it was so hard, y'all. I was sitting in my closet every motherfucking day in the darkness, asking for something, bitch. Give me a little something. Because whatever I was doing before, that shit was not working anymore. Right? And so I was like, okay, like, you have to trust in yourself. You have to stay devoted. You have to keep showing up. Because if it was somebody else's business, you'll keep showing up, even if you didn't like the place. You would keep showing up. So you got to keep showing up for yourself and what you believe in, even when you can't see it in the physical world, even when there's no proof that what you're doing is going to be fruitful. Like, you have to keep showing up for yourself. You have to believe in yourself without a shadow of a doubt. And that breaks you over and over and over and over again, especially when we live in a society that's tied our worth to having. We've tied our worth to money. You know, these last 2 years was fucking hard. Like, so fucking hard. I had to learn how to communicate. Like, I had to learn how to communicate because I was struggling so bad. And so, like, I had to communicate with my people, not because I needed anything for them, because honestly, I don't think I have like people I could go to if I was struggling. You know, like, I feel like my mama can help me a little bit, but like, outside of that, I don't have nobody. It's just me and my brother, you know, and my mama sometimes, but like, just really just been me and my brother my whole life, you know? And so it's like, if I fail, I fail. Like, there's no safety net. There's no nothing. And that has driven me my whole entire life, because I have to figure it the fuck out, because nobody's going to be able to save me. Right. But I also think that that's survival mode, and we don't realize that survival mode. And it causes us to tie our worth to having, and tie our worth to money, you know, especially because I came from poverty. We did not have anything, you know, and because we did not have anything, people treat you a specific way when you do not have everything. You know, like, people look down on you. People talk down on you. Like, I have so much trauma around that, and also trauma around people helping. But then they'll help. And like, when they helping you, it's like, oh, yes, okay, it's no problem, da, da, da. But all of a sudden, you the motherfucking town gossip. They talking shit about you and how your mama can't afford to do this or do that, and y'all ain't gonna be shit just like y'all mama. And don't even realize that as a kid, sometimes y'all think y'all being quiet about that shit. But bitch, these ears don't fucking lie. I would literally walk in on people talking shit about us. And it's like, there's no separation when you a kid from you and your parent. Like, if you're talking shit about my mama, you're talking shit about me, bitch. If you're talking shit about my mom, there's no separation. If you don't like her, you don't like me. Like, that is the way that I think about it, you know? And so it's just like, it was hard to navigate. And so in these last 2 years, I had to be emptied because of that. I had to be emptied of everything, because I had tied so much of my worth, of my drive, of my everything to having things. And what I realized in these last 2 years is that I don't need a damn thing to be worthy. My worth comes from my depth. My worth comes from who I am. My worth comes from how every single time I'm in community with somebody, I leave them better than I found them. You know, like, nobody can ever take away your worth, because your worth is inherent. Nobody can ever take it away. And when you tie it to all these material things, it creates the illusion that somebody can take it away from you. Your worth, your ability to feel worthy of things. And I didn't realize that that was impacting me my whole life, even in relationships. I literally was dating somebody for like 3.5 years, and he decided to get married to his high school sweetheart that he swore he wasn't dealing with, and just ghosted me. Like literally ghosted me. And I felt so discarded. I felt so worthless. I felt so fucking worthless because I had invested so much time. It's like I had to unpack all of that. I had to unpack all of that because I could not see the good in me. I could not see the good in me in a lot of situations. I did not feel good enough. I did not feel good enough. And so spirit has a beautiful way of working with who you think you are to show you who you actually are. And so the taking away of everything that you thought about yourself is a part of the fucking process. You have to see that you still stand outside of that shit. You have to see that even when that shit is taken away, you are still you. You know, that your life is still worth living. So, y'all know I be preaching. But anyways, you have to figure out what's worth suffering for. And I think me figuring out my truth was worth suffering for. Me building a business where I have autonomy and flexibility over my schedule was worth working for. You know, or I'm sorry, was worth struggling for. Now I only work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. I finally have time for me to spend time on myself and to get out of survival, this go, 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 go mode. You know, I finally have time to prioritize rest. My goodness, my ancestors never got a chance to rest. And we don't realize we inherit that shit. And so I spent my whole life chasing, hyper vigilant, trying to figure it all out, trying to fix everything for everybody, trying to be the resource in my community because we don't have fucking resources. You know, I was in this very unique situation. Every time I get on here and I start talking, I start motherfucking sweating. But I was in a unique situation where I had two vastly different sides of my family. Okay. I had my mom's side, which is the hood niggas. Love the hood niggas. Okay. My cousin used to be like, my cousin was like a hood mechanic, y'all. And he would be like, Mr. Dieseline, sir, please. But he would fix everybody's car. He would, you know, whatever. My granddaddy had a crackhead for everything. Like literally, I needed anything. Hold on, let me call my crackhead. The crackhead would come over there and do it. My uncle, if we needed something done, he had a Mexican for everything. No offense to the Mexicans. But you know, like we just a different breed. On that side of the family is hustlers. And one thing I love about my mama's side of the family and that we don't talk about enough as a society is that the hood are the people who live in the hood, the people who live in 111 on the clock. The people who live in the hood who don't have resources, those are the people who are living outside of the system. They said, fuck no to patriarchy. They said, fuck no to capitalism. They said, okay, I'm not about to sweat and die and break to make money, to make scraps when I can just get my own shit. You know, they go to jail for that shit, but it's worth the risk. It's worth the struggle for them. I fuck with that. I fuck with that because me seeing that, me growing up in that environment, even though it was unsafe, because, you know, a nigga run up on you and rob you, a nigga pistol whip your granddaddy with a motherfucking shotgun, you know, it's shit going on. Like, you know, like it's shit going on. However, you know, it showed me that you can do anything you want to. You don't need the system that they say that you need. You don't need that shit. Because when I look at the people around me and the shit that they've created out of nothing, they didn't have no motherfucking help, no resources, no nothing. They ain't put no resources in the hood. They didn't have nothing. And guess what? They still figured it the fuck out. They still figured it out. My auntie used to sell plates. Okay. We had a lady down the street who had a candy store in her motherfucking house. Right? They were getting it the fuck done. My cousin, one time, my car was broke. I was in college, dead motherfucking broke. I called my cousin, Mr. Dieseline. Okay, I called him. That nigga, he took a fan. The fan in my car was not working. He nigga rigged my car with this motherfucking fan, and my car was able to go forever. I just had to stop on the highway, on the side of the highway, put a little water in it, you know. But I got to where the fuck I was going, you know. So it's just like there's so much innovation in the hood. But then I got my dad's side. My dad is like suburban black folk, meaning like. My dad's dad he grew up as a sharecropper, and a sharecropper is somebody who shares land with the white people. So it's like when people were enslaved, right? when they freed them, the people didn't have nowhere to go. And so some people just decided to still work for the people who enslaved them, but that people who enslaved them would give them like a piece of the land. And they would work as a team to make sure that the crops was growing and everybody had food and stuff like that. And so my granddad comes from the sharecropper side of things. And so like he would have to get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning and go fucking, clean the stalls and like do whatever with the horses. And he actually had a job picking cotton after slavery, because it would make him money and stuff before he got out the country. Because my dad's side of the family is from Montgomery, Alabama. Like right next to, really in, what's that county that's in Alabama that's like super, super fucking racist? Like they started the march there and ended up going all the way to, I forgot what the fuck it's called. But anyways, very, very, very racist place. And so my granddaddy whole life, he just wanted to get out. Like he just wanted to get out of that situation. No, not Selma. It's a county. Selma is where they march to, I thought. No, it's like I think it start with a K. Hey, Jayla. Or an L. It might be like fuck, I can't think about it, y'all. Whenever it come back up, I'll let y'all know. But anyway, so my granddad spent his whole life trying to have his own. Like he spent his whole life trying to have his own because they didn't technically own the land at any time that these people could put them off the land, And so like he spent his whole life doing that. But my grandmother, who I look just like, by the way, my grandmother, they was indigenous. And so they actually owned their land. And they still to this day own their land. And so like it's all being passed down to us, right? But they owned their land. And my grandmother was like one of the first to outside of her family to like kind of go on her own path. And so she was also leaving something behind too. Like she didn't want the small, quaint life. She wanted to build her own life. She wanted to build her own riches. And so she went to nursing school. And I think they met on the bus or something like that. I don't necessarily know. But basically my dad's parents always looked down on my mom's side of the family. Like they always thought that we was ghetto. They always thought that, whatever the case may be. But really, my mama was not ghetto. She just didn't take nobody's shit. Like my mama, she don't give a fuck. She didn't give a fuck if you was a parent. Like, that whole like respect your elders. Yeah, my mama my mama's a Sagittarius. She didn't give a fuck. If you don't respect me, I don't respect you. And she fights, she got a little bite to her. So they could not stand her. And so like my whole life, my grandparents, they had this really beautiful house and it was in a beautiful Lowndes County. Fucking yes. Thank you. Yes. Lowndes County. Yes. That's where all my family lives. Like my grandparents are buried up there, like all of that. Thank you, girl. Oh my goodness. I love when y'all it was going to eat me up too, girl, but I knew it was going to circle back around. I knew it was going to find me. But anyways, they were suburban Black folks. So they had this really, really nice home that they built on. Like they built like a whole suite on the back with a den. And then they built their own room. They had like a skylight and they got like a his and hers sink. And this is before people was doing that shit. Like they had that type of money. They built a pool in their backyard that's like 12 feet deep. They had like a soda machine. They had a water slide. Like what the fuck? Like they was like they were doing well. Black people. My grandmother was like the head of a nursing department at Jackson Hospital. And then my granddaddy worked at Chevrolet and he kind of worked his way up. He was somebody who had to kind of struggle a little bit for it, but he worked his way up and ended up being a painter. And I don't know if y'all know this, but people who paint cars, them motherfuckers make bank. Like I remember being a kid and he was like, he showed me his check and it was only like $3,000, but we're talking about like 2,000. This was like 2,000, so that's a lot of money to be making every 2 weeks for somebody, in the 2000s, and so it just was vastly different. So I was in the intersection between like Black people who didn't have anything, like absolutely fucking nothing, and then Black people who kind of was able to get out of that system. But what I realized, the similarity between them is they're all still chasing money. They're all still chasing wealth. They have the same goals. They're going about it in different ways, and so I think when I look at suffering, I have a different view of life than most people because I was at that intersection. Like I was literally at the threshold of multiple things. One of my grandmothers is white. I was literally at the intersection of multiple things, you know? So yeah, so suffering causes innovation sometimes. And the goal is to find something worth suffering for, because it can take anywhere from 9 weeks to 9 months to 9 years to birth the timeline you want, based on how many internal belief systems you have to alchemize, right? And I told y'all that over these last 2 years, I went through this emptying process where I felt like everything I had tied my worth to was no longer available. I had to figure out something else, and that is the beauty in suffering. We spend so much time trying to not be uncomfortable, when that is a part of the fucking process. You don't get to figure out who you are and what your truth is if you don't go through the dark, because your truth is in the dark. It's hidden from you, which means that it's not a path. It's not a fucking, what do you call that when you walking up somebody's path and they got little lights on the side? No, it don't work like that, babes. You got to fumble around and feel around in the dark until you find that motherfucker, because you lost it, or you never knew what it was. You never had an opportunity to know what it was. And so, while you're doing that, all of your subconscious belief systems are coming up. The things that are standing in the way, the obstacles that are standing in the way for you to get the thing, maintain the thing, all of those things are going to be coming up, because those are the things that are standing in the way of your truth. It's like your truth is in a locked vault, and like there's clues and little breadcrumbs, right? But there's also obstacles. Things are going to stop you in your tracks, but those things are supposed to stop you in your motherfucking tracks, because those are the things that you have to unlearn, because they were taught to you from a wounded place, or because they don't honor your divinity, right? And so you have to go through that, because if you refuse to go through that, you're not actually living, because you are human. The uncomfortable part of life is the human part of life. It's the part of life that makes it so that you can live fully. If you don't go through the darkness, you're never going to be your authentic self. So many people talk about this love and light bullshit. You don't get to the love and light part until you go through the darkness. The love and light is what the light at the end of the tunnel. But if you got to go through the tunnel first, So anyways, it depends on how many belief systems you have in your way that need to be alchemized, right? Or identities you have to unpack and refine for you to see it as a possibility for yourself. Because I think that also too, when you grow up in the hood, one thing that I realized is that had I only grew up in the hood, I would know nothing but the hood. When I look at some of my cousins who didn't have like fathers in their life, they only had their mama, and we grew up in the hood. The hood is like they don't know how to stop being in the hood. Like the hood is their whole personality. Like they don't have vision of anything outside of that, And so they always in this energy of like chasing and like they can't see what you can't see what you don't have awareness of. And I feel like they didn't have awareness of a lot of things, So they don't have nothing to compare it to. Like they don't have nothing to compare it to, because they have not been outside of the hood. Like I got family members that have never left Indiana, like never even traveled nowhere, literally hang with the same people every single day, do the same things every single motherfucking day, because they really don't have no resources or no options, And so you gotta go through the darkness, because you need to unpack some of them identities that you've over attached yourself to, because it kept you safe, or it kept you feeling included or belonging, or because I think the hood is community. The hood is community. That's where community actually survived. Like we look out for each other. What this person don't have, that person don't have. I remember there was times where my aunties and them didn't have electricity, and so they would just call somebody and they would nigger rig that shit. The hood is demonic. What do you mean by that? You're looking at life the wrong way, love. Matter of fact, I'm sorry, I got to block you for that, because that just pissed me off so fucking bad. No. Y'all be thinking y'all can say whatever the fuck. Don't come up in my shit offending me. I don't like that. That's so anti-black. That's so fucking anti-black. Ooh. Hold on. Sometimes y'all be making me want to pull my mama up out of me like Buddy Love. Y'all be making the Buddy Love come up out of me because y'all are so anti-black sometimes. I fucking hate that shit for you. I hate that shit for you. The hood is demonic. You let them people turn you against your own fucking people. Ew. Bitch, hold on. I had to find my center again. Because that type of shit make me want to whoop off in your motherfucking ass. Because maybe you just ain't had your ass beat. That's what I be thinking. Maybe you ain't had your ass beat before. Or maybe you have, and that's the problem. Maybe you have, and that's the problem. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. I hate anti-blackness. I really genuinely do. That disturbs my motherfucking spirit. That disturbs my spirit. Like, why do you hate? You hate your own people. So then what are you choosing? What are you choosing? If you're not choosing your own people, what are you choosing? Okay, you hate yourself is what you're saying. Because anti-blackness is self-hate. Anyways, back to what I was doing. Because I will not let you pull me to hell with you. I will not let you pull me into your own misery. But anyways, I forgot what I was saying. Because I be laughing, but the shit is not funny. It's not funny. Look what these people have done to y'all. Anyways, so you're never really struggling for no reason. Okay? You are never really struggling for no reason. If you are in this place of feeling like you are struggling for no reason, I'm from Indiana or Indianapolis. I grew up between Indianapolis and Atlanta. Because my daddy lived in Atlanta, and so I spent all my summers in Atlanta. Um, but between Atlanta and Montgomery too, because like Atlanta's only like 2 hours away from Montgomery, which is where my grandparents are, and so I grew up in between them too. But anyways, so you're never suffering for any reason, no reason. You're suffering because there's a part of you that is refusing to die. There's a part of you that's refusing to die. Oh, did you? Okay, I like Gary. I actually, one of my closest friends, de jour, actually was from Gary, and so I went up there. First of all, I went to the strip club in Gary, y'all, one time, and it scared me. It was very scary experience because one, I think that there's a whole different level of confidence in Gary. Like those women know who the fuck they are, And so we go to the strip club, and I ain't never seen like the strip club have like body positive strippers, like, and there was this one stripper who was like a bigger girl. She had these big ass motherfucking gigantic ass titties. Like I'm talking about the ones you flip out and set on the motherfucking table. Like she had these big ass motherfucking titties, right? And she was like staring at me, and I think that I must got like a gay aura or some shit like that, because I feel like people oftentimes assume that I like women, and I'm just, baby, it's not giving that. It's not giving that. I hope that it's not giving that. But she was just staring at me, like twirling her nipple, like twirling one of her nipples, the other nipples in her mouth, and she was just staring at me the whole fucking night. I was like, oh no, get me out of here, please, please. Oh my God, she's about to take me. She's about to take me. it was a good experience though. We had fun that night, and the strip club got the best wings, if you ask me. But it was kind of spooky. It was kind of scary, but I had such a good time. But anywho, back to what I was saying, y'all. So you're never really struggling for no reason. Either you are struggling because you won't release the past or a specific idea of the future. Ooh, So you're struggling because you either don't want to release the past, okay? You're stuck in a memory of something, or you have a specific idea of what you think the future is supposed to look like. Okay, both of those things pull you out of the present moment. But you could also be distracting yourself with planning. Hold on, wait. Just kidding, I skipped around. Wait, let me go back. Either you're struggling because you won't release the past or a specific idea of the future, which pulls you out of the present moment, because you are denying or hiding your truth, which pulls you out of the present moment, or you are distracting yourself with planning so you can create the illusion that you are growing while still being deeply unhappy because you are pretending. Okay. You can have both because we are multifaceted people. Okay. Don't ever underestimate the cleverness of us, because as I went through my healing journey, I think sometimes being smart, being too motherfucking smart or hyper aware could be a fucking problem. It could be a problem because then you get really, really good at hiding things from yourself. You get really, really good at tricking yourself out of the truth. You know, like you could get really good at that. I was really good at that, you know? So you are either denying or hiding your truth, which pulls you out of the present moment. Or you're distracting yourself with planning so you can create the illusion that you are growing while still being deeply unhappy because you are pretending, which is delusion. Pretending that you are happy is delusion, or what we like to call dissociation. All of those things pull you outside of the present moment. Okay. Then the next message I got was that Mars is the energy of devotion, and Mars has been inverted because we are naturally devoted energies. And so what I keep getting is that Mars, Jupiter, and Mercury are not planets. They're energies that are associated with the cycles we go through. And so Jupiter is associated with the birth cycle. Mars is associated with the death cycle, which is war and, you know, all of those things. And Mercury is the energy that shows up when we're going through the transition, right? Because you remember I talked to y'all about understanding something as a concept, right? Which is conceptual knowing, information, right? Then you move into applied knowing, which would be Mercury. That's where when you're practicing, the messengers come up, the illusions come up, but the messengers come up so you can refine and discern. And then embodied knowing is like, now I know what my truth is. Now I can expand, right? So Mars energy is the energy of devotion. They say ambition, drive, passion. It makes you impulsive. No, it's the energy of devotion. I think that energy has been distorted, right? And so they say ambition because ambition. Let's look up the definition of ambition real quick. Hold on. Why is the screen so fucking big? Ooh. Okay. Ambition definition. All right. Ambition is an eager or strong desire to achieve something, right? To achieve. We have tied our worth to how much we can achieve, right? And it's because they keep telling us you need to be ambitious. Ambition is the object or the goal desired. Desire for exertion or activity. Okay. And so if you are ambitious, you are exerting yourself to the fullest capacity. You're exhausting yourself. You're expending all of your energy. You're constantly stuck in this energy of activity. But that's only one part of the cycle. Remember, because I talked about this. This is the masculine cycle. This is the feminine cycle. The masculine cycle is action, is work, it's fire, it's doing, it's force, it's fast, it's projection, right? All of that is masculine energy. And so it keeps us trapped, us being ambitious, keeps us trapped in the masculine cycle. But we need the feminine as well. And the feminine would be devotion. It's not about you going until you can't fucking go anymore. It's not about that. It's about you being devoted to what it is that you believe in. And so devotion only requires you to show up each day and do one thing that moves you closer to the goal. Instead of you doing, going to the point where you don't even fucking rest. And you start to feel guilt when you're not being productive, because ambition is the energy of activity. It doesn't turn off, you know? And so I think Mars is the energy of devotion, and we are devoted people, right? And so with Mars being the energy of devotion, Jupiter is the energy of expansion. And so there's two things that we are always doing, right? Noticing what is there so we can figure out our truth. That's feminine energy. Noticing what is there so we can figure out our truth. That's feminine energy. Expressing from the truth that we figure out, that's masculine energy, right? You need both sides of those. And so Jupiter is the expression expansion part. You need to be visible to be expressing yourself. You need to be speaking your truth to be expanding. That's Jupiter's side of the energy. Mars is the devotion side. Is showing up every single day. And even when you cannot see the results, even when you cannot see the physical reality reflecting back to you your truth, you still have faith in that thing, and you still have faith in you. It's learning how to trust in your own magnetism, because the feminine energy is magnetism. It means that you become so magnetic, you start pulling things towards you, right? Because you're actually aligned with your truth. And that's why in that feminine cycle, you are meant to notice, because when you notice and you start putting patterns together, you can figure out what your truth is, right? And so Mars to me has been distorted. But what I was getting is Mars is the energy of devotion. They just call it ambition, because if they called it devotion, people will realize that they are worshiping money when they go to work. Because if you're devoted to something, you're a devotee. Okay? So let me run it back. Mars is the energy of devotion. They just call it ambition, because if they call it devotion, people will realize they are worshiping something when they go to work. You are a devotee. What do you work for? You work for money. You work for access. You work for success. You work to be number one. So that means you are devoting yourself to competing, right? Because they want us in a competitive energy. That's why they keep saying we're going back to Mars, right? Because they told you that Mars was ambition instead of devotion. And so if you go back to ambition, activity, doing, let me read ambition. An eager or strong desire to achieve something. Okay. I didn't read the rest of it. An eager or strong desire to achieve something, comma, such as fame or power. So you're chasing power. You're chasing fame. You're chasing popularity, right? Because that's what the definition says. An eager or strong desire to achieve something such as fame or power. Okay. That doesn't mean limited to fame or power, because I think sometimes we are trying to chase attention, which I mean, I guess is fame. But anyways, to be number one, you're devoting yourself to competing, which is exerting yourself. That's what happens when you compete, right? If you go to a basketball game, if you go to a track meet, if you go to a volleyball game, what are they doing? They're putting it all on the floor. They're working themselves. They're overextending themselves, working themselves to max potential. Don't your coach say, leave it all on the floor? Don't bring nothing home with you. You're overexerting yourself because you're trying to achieve something. You're trying to win. They get us in this attitude of trying to win things, right? Because if they get us in this attitude in this attitude of searching or chasing for something, they can control us. All they do is got to dangle the fucking carrot. It's over here. It's over here. It's over. Oh, it's over here. It's over here now. Oh, it's over here. That's what they be doing. Anyways, so you are devoting yourself to competing for trophies, for Employee of the Month, for Nobel Peace Prizes, for awards, and for attention. They are promising us their attention for ours. I will give you my attention. I will give you access to the club of the elite. Mark Rubin. Ain't that his name? Mark Rubin. Which one of them be throwing that all-white party? Yeah. If you give me your attention, if you pour your energy into me, I will give you my attention back in return. That's the promise. But the thing is, they're not ever giving you their attention back in return. You're just pouring your energy into them endlessly, which means you're worshiping them, which means you're feeding them your energy. The reason why you're exhausted is because you're willingly giving away your energy to a system, to a person, to access to something. Anyways, they are promising us their attention for ours. We are ritualistic people. We're devoted people. We are devoted people, which means every single thing that we do every day is in devotion to ourselves. We're devoted to ourselves. Okay, we are ritualistic people. Devotion means you show up every single day and you do the same thing, right? They're using that against us. And so we're ritualistic people, meaning whenever we focus our attention / invest our attention, we create. So they are extracting your attention in exchange for money, which holds no real value, because money used to be backed by gold, but they took the gold. The gold was lost, remember? They said, oh, we transferred it and now we don't know where it went. Okay. The money is not backed by anything, which means that they're not actually giving you anything in return. They're giving you a banknote or a debt instrument that holds no weight, which means that you're working for free. And that's the imbalance in the energy exchange. That's why so many of us have problems receiving, because we've never received shit. We've never received shit. Anyways, so it's not backed by anything. So you are working for free. This is the imbalance in the sacred energy exchange, which requires reciprocity. It requires reciprocity. It's give and take, which means if you work in corporate America, you are leaking energy. You are leaking energy because there has to be a balancing out. If there is not a give and a take, that means that the person who is giving and not receiving anything back in return is leaking energy. So remember when I told y'all, anytime you're trying to convince somebody of the truth, anytime you're trying to save somebody, anytime you are trying to prove something to somebody, you are leaking energy. That whole entire system requires you to prove your worth in order to get access, to get money, to get your basic fucking needs met. Which means that every single body who is depleted and who is burnt out is because you're leaking energy. It's because you're actually not getting anything in return for the investment that you're making. Right. So that means that if you work in corporate America, you are leaking energy. You are being extracted from without anything in exchange. And we wonder why we struggle to receive as a society, because we have never received anything of real value. We are being pacified. They give you these fake ass money that don't hold no fucking weight. They're not backed by anything of value, which means you are getting nothing. You're getting nothing. We are being pacified so that they can spiritually bypass, so that they can have their heaven on earth, where they just pay people fake money to do fake jobs so that they can hoard and control their energy through these rituals. Because when you are in a system, right, you are devoting your energy to their God. Okay. And you can say that that's money. What's on money? Dead presidents, the ancestors of this country. You're pouring energy into them. When you place your value and your worth on those debt instruments, which basically is you pledging, investing your time in those people who built this country, you know, I'll be having to fix my face sometimes. I'm sorry, y'all. You're worshiping the forefathers who came over here because they were fucking cowards and they were scared to stand in their truth. So they came to another place so that they can create their own truth. That's who you worshiping. That's where you putting your energy into, that same energy. Okay. So anyways, okay, they just pay people fake money to do fake jobs so that they can hoard and control their energy through rituals. We worship lames. Yes, absolutely. The lamest, rejects, outcasts, people who had to run out of fear from their own country. Yes, they on the cob real bad. Can't get off. Stuck on the cob. Yeah. So, and they're doing massive rituals, which I also believe the reason why they don't give you any type of funeral expenses if you die. So they work you to death. And then when you die, they have an insurance policy on you, by the way. And so they collect the dividends and the funds, and then they just replace you. So you're just literally like a battery pack that's you taking all of your energy and putting it towards them, and they're taking that energy and manipulating reality so that they can create the shit that they want to create. And you willingly investing your energy into it. Okay. So they don't ever run out of energy because we are willingly giving it to them. We are not willing to struggle for our truth. And that's where the beginning part comes in. We are not willing to struggle for our truth. We are choosing comfort, Then they create churches to teach you to demonize your ancestors who are your spiritual protection. Yeah. The only way you can fight back is if you have a relationship with the spirits and you have a relationship with everything when you are connected to source. Okay. And so they demonize your ancestors through Christianity. And that girl who said the hood is demonic. Bitch. Oh, I can't stand some of y'all. I love y'all, but I can't stand some of y'all sometimes. Anyways, so, but I can't even, I also can't be mad at y'all because I feel like this system was deliberately set up so that you think that way. And so it's not your fault. And I told y'all, spirit be telling me I be needing compassion. I be needing more compassion. But lately, I just haven't given a fuck. I haven't given a fuck. I'm tired of prioritizing people's comfort. Like, we do not like the truth. And so we need to keep speaking the truth until it becomes normalized that we can have different perspectives. You know? But anywho, back to what I was saying. We are not willing to struggle for our truth. We are choosing comfort. Then they create churches to teach you to demonize your ancestors who are your spiritual protection, rendering you helpless, feeling unsupported and disconnected. So you feel all alone, hopeless. That creates desperation. So now you are competing in these highly intense conditions with little to no breaks, which was meant to extract as much of your attention as possible, because attention is currency. You're paying them an attention, they're paying you dust back in return. While they coach you and give you all these self-help and motivational speakers or these bros with podcast mics just telling you to push through. You're lazy. You're not ambitious enough. You got to have that dog in you because they want to extract more. Right. All right. Until you literally have health problems without any health care to fix it. And saying, and let's say that you do retire with benefits. Okay, let's say you do retire with benefits. You still have to pay if you get sick. And at any time, they could drop you if the disease is too serious. Like cancer. They find out you have cancer, they will drop your fucking policy. The policy you've been paying into for 30, 40 years. They would say, oh, nope, that's too serious. Putting more stress on you, which is crazy. If the disease is too serious and the solution comes with more health problems, the solution that they give you 9 times out of 10 comes with more health problems, because I worked in pharmaceutical sales. I told y'all that. I worked for Eli Lilly and Company, one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in this fucking country. Top 10. You know what I realized while I was working there? Is that you give somebody a medication and you cause 30 other motherfucking problems. And there's always a risk of you dying. And the reason why that is because the people who ran away from the church chose science. And you're the science experiment. They chose science. And as long as you consent, because they're giving you medication and providing you a service, and that's been normalized for them to do science experiments on you, they can just kill you because you need help. And they're not giving you any type of real health care. Anyways, now, the solution comes with more problems because the medication causes other organs to fail. And we don't even realize we are being experimented on. Why do you think they need slaves? Why do you think they needed slaves? Why do you think they needed slaves? Because they chose science. They wasn't going to experiment on their motherfucking self, because then they would die. Right. They chose science. They wanted to prove it through materialism. And our whole reality is based out of materialism, meaning like if it's not in the material world with us, it does not exist. And that's why they always call things coincidences and phenomenons, because that pacifies you. And they're like, oh no, it's a coincidence that you saw a spirit or a shadow. Oh no, it's a coincidence that this happened. Oh, that's a random phenomenon that this happened. Because then if they give you an answer, they can pacify you. Then you won't go looking any further. right? And so they told you if it's not in the material world, it doesn't exist. Okay? They turned their back on religion. They said if it can't be proven, it doesn't exist. Mind over matter. Mind over matter. Mind over matter. Which means mind over body. Which means mind over earth. Which is why they don't give a fuck about what happens to earth. Right? They needed live subjects. And since we occupied the land, because we were already over here, we occupied the land they wanted. Okay, we occupied the land they wanted. They said no to those people, came over here and said, oh, we need help. Oh, we're coming in peace. And then as soon as we turned our motherfuckers back. Anyways, we occupied the land they wanted because they ran out of Europe. Okay, they came to the Americas and they enslaved people who they considered less than because they lived in community with the land. Meaning, like, they thought Black people and they thought indigenous people were ignorant because we did not read and we did not write. But we had a community with the land and they chose mind over matter, which means mind over earth. Right. Okay. And so they thought because we did not read and write like them, and because everything was orally passed around, that it meant we were incompetent. We were not smart. Okay. Now, they lived in community with the land, meaning the people who are already over here, opposed to joining society. And so they thought something must be wrong with them. Or what they call becoming civilized. Okay? But the truth is they needed to be civilized, not us. They needed to be civilized because they were created during the polarity experiments when we lived in community with the star beings or other beings. They wanted bodies they could control, bodies that were more mental, so they removed the melanin, earth. They chose mind over matter. They removed earth's essence. Earth's energy is melanin. Melanin is what stabilizes you. Earth is what stabilizes you, right? So they removed the melanin because melanin is what remembers. And so they need to remove the melanin because they wanted people they can control. Melanin remembers the truth of our divinity. Melanin is what remembers the truth of your divinity. That there's no higher thing than you here because you are of earth. You are earth in her image. You are earth incarnate, right? It is what connects you to earth, which is everything inside and outside of us. Everything in the material plane. Yeah. Let me go back. Hold on. It is what connects you to earth, which is everything inside and out of us, everything in a material plane. The earth is a living library. Everything here holds information. Okay, the earth is a living library. Hold on, let me look something up real quick. Because they told me earth is like the nucleus and that the sun is like the positive charge and Saturn is the negative charge or the dielectric charge. So let me look up nucleus, a central or essential part around which other parts are gathered or grouped, a core, something regarded as the basis for future development and growth, a kernel, a membrane-bound organelle within a cell that contains most of the cell's genetic material. DNA transcriptions take place in the nucleus, okay? DNA is a storage facility. So let's look up DNA transcription real quick. What does that mean? A DNA transcription is the biological process by which the genetic information in a segment of DNA is copied into a complementary strand of RNA, which is a primarily messenger energy. This process is the first step of gene expression and involves several key characteristics. Okay? So that means that here, all the DNA strands exist here. Now, remember that our DNA stores megatons of information. Hold on. We just gonna Google this so that y'all know that I'm not bullshitting. DNA stores information in the linear sequence of its 4 chemical bases, A, T, C, and G. right? Those are the letters that associated with the DNA strands, okay? Those are also associated with the music scale. That's the reason why our body responds to sound, is because of ATCG, okay? The DNA strand, okay? It stores information, which means that Earth stores information. Earth is the living library. Earth is the nucleus, is what they said. Okay, nucleus is a central part around which other parts are gathered. It is the DNA transcription takes place here, meaning like the only way for them to extract information from the DNA is to come here, because Earth is the living library. Okay, the DNA that they're trying to describe is ours. Why do they need to just transcribe our DNA? Because it holds the information of everything. It holds the information of everything. No. Don't put them together. Don't put it together. It's not the hormone. It is the linear sequence, the 4 chemical bases of DNA strands. Okay. And so you have adenine, which is the A, thymine, which is the T, cytosine, which is the C, and guanine, which is the G. Okay. And so in living cells, the specific order of these nucleotides encode genetic instructions for building and maintaining organisms. They can't control us without understanding our DNA, because our DNA stores the information that they're trying to extract. Okay. Our DNA stores the truth. And they're scientists. What do scientists do? They're trying to figure out the truth. Okay. Back to my book now. Back to what I was saying. So Earth is the living library. Everything here holds information. Melanin is the Earth's energy. It's Earth's intelligence. The memory of the land is in melanin. And the bodies of water hold the memory of everything that ever existed. Our bodies are 80% water. It holds the soul energy of the planet, meaning like the waters, the ocean holds the soul memory of the planet. And that's why they keep trying to take the water and run it through AI, because they're trying to extract the memory and create their own God. I talked about that yesterday. Okay. This is not a book, y'all. These are my channel messages. What I'm doing in this space is just trying to give y'all what I feel like is the truth from my perspective, based on the things that I'm channeling and the things that I'm getting. Right. It doesn't mean that it's always true, though. And the reason why I say that is because you only can see the truth from the level that you're at right now, the level of consciousness you are at. The truth is meant to grow and expand as we grow and expand. And so what I'm trying to do is just let us know that there are other things that could be going on. There are other truths that exist outside of the ones that we've been told. And so this is just a space for me to share those truths, you know, and allow y'all to call me crazy, woo woo, whatever the fuck y'all want to call me. But yeah. This is just my channel messages. So I'm just sharing them with y'all because we are terrified of speaking our truth, because we're terrified of the ramifications of speaking our truth, because we realize that anybody that has spoken truth and it's reality outside of the framework of the people who are trying to possess the truth end up dead. But I ain't motherfucking scared. Why? Because the spirits they try to weaponize against us, our divine and elevated ancestors, they would rather work with us than them. That's why they had to disconnect you from your hoodoo and voodoo practices, because that's the only way you could have defended yourself. That's why they had to demonize your ancestors, because it's the only way that you can defend yourself. And so I say no. And I work with my elevated ancestors, and I work with the spirits here to fight back. Because when you are divinely sent and divinely ordained, a motherfucker can't do shit to you. You know? When you know who you are and you know what your truth is, me, I'm a divine messenger. When you know what your truth is, I only come at the threshold. When we going through something, we move through a threshold right now, right? And I'm sent by Earth, the goddess energy. I was sent by Earth herself. I am her embodied in all of her facets, all the divine feminine energies. It don't matter what you call the name. It don't matter the name. That's what they told me the other day. It don't matter what you call me. Right? And they not about to let nobody fuck with me in spirit. And that's the thing. We going through spiritual warfare. They fucking with us in spirit. So they disconnected us from the spirits so they can use the spirits against us. But you don't have no right being here, because some of these hate spirits, some of these disgruntled spirits that are trying to live through us, because we have the library in our bones. The only way for them to stay grounded in earth is if they attach themselves to us and look through our eyes. And so that's what they have done. And we don't realize a lot of us are the living dead, meaning we have dead spirits that have died that are trying to inhabit our body. We have spirits that have died that are trying to infiltrate our waters, that are trying to connect to us internally and externally to turn us into the living dead, right? And they're controlling the way that we show up, because we don't realize we are not our thoughts, we are not our emotions. You know? And because you don't know who you are, you can't, and you haven't been told anything about the spiritual realm. You don't know that you need boundaries. You don't know that you're consenting to something you're not consenting to. Because they just sell it to you as fun. Let's go get drunk. The only way you can have fun is if you're drunk. I like a little drunk though, you know, but I just set my intentions before I go over there playing with them people's shit, playing with them motherfucking spirits, you know? But yeah, you don't know you need to be intentional. You don't know that these things exist because they told you they don't exist. And so you cannot protect yourself. They tell you that if you're talking to any spirit outside of Jesus, it's demonic. So they've demonized your ancestors, and they told you can only talk to one spirit. Why? Because if you put all your energy into one spirit, like you put all your energy into one place, like the corporations, they can hoard it. They can control it. Therefore, they can control you. You know? But I digress. Back to the handy dandy notebook, my blues clues. Okay. So, melanin is Earth's energy, is Earth's intelligence, the memory of the land, and the bodies of water hold the memory of everything that have ever existed. It holds the soul energy of the planet. We are the planet embodied. We are the planet embodied, especially goddess energy. Okay. There is no higher being in this place than the goddess. And when I say higher, I don't mean better than. I mean we are the stewards of this place. I mean that we are never disconnected from source. I mean that everything that comes into this reality has to come through us. We are the gatekeepers. Okay? We have a different function. That is it. It does not mean better. It means we have a different function. We are the guardians. You know? And so everything is connected through water. Everything is connected through water. Everything is moved through fire. Water holds the truth and communicates through feeling. That means feeling your truth is the only protection you have in this place, which means you got to go through the dark. Remember, we talked about that. You got to go through the dark, because when you stay connected to the truth, you manifest the highest potential energy in this reality. Okay. Oh, Chad, I couldn't read. I could not read what I was writing, because sometimes the message is coming faster than my hand, right? And so they said, when you stay connected to the truth, earth, okay, your internal wisdom, you manifest the highest potential in this reality, which is the real currency, soul energy. And it's produced through sustained awareness or focused attention. You can create whatever you want, but someone tricked you with the concept of worth. They tried to estimate your value. That's why they had us in slavery on them chopping blocks. And they had people putting a price tag on us because they were trying to condition us. They needed to go. It was a reason why they needed slavery to happen. I'm about to talk about it. Hold on. Wait a second. All right. Someone tricked you with this concept of worth. They tried to estimate your value, but first they had to disconnect you from your truth, okay? Which is where slavery comes in. They traumatized you until you forgot, and you stuffed your truth down to remain safe, to survive. But the thing about truth is it never disappears. It just is. So the moment you put your awareness back on feeling, it starts to rise, but we don't feel safe to feel, right? That's the problem. Once you were disconnected from yourself, they reinforced that you were worth nothing. And that was done through violence. Okay. They re-civilized you. They said you are free, but in order to live, you need money. So they traumatized you for years, and they traumatized you for generations, right? So that you can pass it down through epigenetics, because these people are scientists. They understand how the DNA works. And so they traumatized you until the truth was buried. And then when the truth was buried enough, it's like, okay, you know what? Fine. We'll let y'all out. Y'all can live free. But the only way for y'all to live in society, the only way for y'all to gain access is you have to have money, right? So they tied our worth to money. Okay. So now, sorry. Yeah. They said you are free, but in order to live, you need money. So how about you come work for me and I'll pay you this time. I'll pay you this time instead of you working for free. I'll give you money. That's backed by nothing. So really, you're still working for free. Yeah. Ain't that fucked up? Every time you please me, because that's what they want you to do. Every time that you please me, I'm sorry, this pisses me off so fucking bad. Sometimes spirit is giving me a message and I can't get past my human self. I be very much so burn it all the fuck, burn it down. Anyways, I'll pay you this time. Every time you please me, I'll create the illusion. Sorry, every time you please them, they created the illusion of more and more access. They civilized men first. They needed to civilize the men first because they posed the more physical threat. That's why women didn't get their rights right away. They had to civilize the men first because they posed a physical threat and advised that they get their women under control. Beat them like they beat you. If your woman, you told Harpo to beat me. This is not funny. This pisses me off so bad. Anyways, it's smart though. It's smart. So they told you as a man, because they mentored. That's what they was doing. That's why they gave men their rights, and then they mentored them. They told them exactly what to do, and because they was in such a fractured state, and men are wired to obey. Why? Because they were our protectors. They were our protectors. They are designed to be submissive to women. They're the protectors of the community. So they're wired to obey. So they told them to keep your woman under control. And if you don't keep your woman under control, you're not a man. Right? And so how do you keep your woman under control? You beat them. You rape them. You don't let them tell you no. You take away their autonomy. Okay? But you got to let them know you're doing it out of love. And I think that's the biggest problem with men today is that they don't know the difference between protection and manipulation. They don't know the difference between protection and manipulation. You know how many times I watched a movie or I watched something of like a woman speaking her truth and then her husband gets home and smacks her for the first time and it's the big motherfucking thing? Or have you ever seen Handmaid's Tale when the white lady, what the fuck? I hated that bitch. I forgot what her damn name was. But the white lady who was the wife to Fred, right? I forgot what her name was. Savannah? No. Hold on. What's her name? What was her name? And no, not Emily. What was Fred's? Sabrina. Right? Y'all remember when she got up on that? They had created a male-centered society. She got up on that motherfucking podium and told them that women should be able to read, right? And she thought she was exempt. She thought she was exempt from the shit, right? Her because she spoke out and embarrassed her husband, he did not have her under control. What did he do? He cut her fucking finger off. He let them cut her fucking finger off. That's what they teach you. Okay? But they say this is me doing it out of love. He said the same thing. He did that out of love to protect her because they think that protecting us is manipulating and controlling us. They think that we are weak and we need protection from them. I mean, we need protection, yeah, from them. But they think protection is control and manipulation. And so they think that they're doing what's best for us because we don't know anything, because they've been told that we are fucking incompetent when we are the insight in this place. We are the truth. If they want to get to the truth, they need to study us. And that's why they used to study Black women all the time and wouldn't give them medication. And the reason why they wouldn't give them medication is because they said Black women are wired differently than white women. But what they were actually saying is that Black women have a lot of melanin. And if you have a lot of melanin, it is harder to fracture the body. And that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to fragment you and dissociate you, because if they can dissociate you, then they can make you the living dead. And that's why they didn't give them pain medicine. It wasn't about no Black women are wired differently, even though that is the truth. It was because melanin does not fragment as easy. But I digress. So let them know that you're doing it out of love to keep her safe, because women are stupid and weak. And then they make sure all the big awards can only be achieved through you neglecting your family. So if you want to be a partner at your firm, you got to neglect your family. If you want to be rich, you got to neglect your family. Right. And that's why all these rich white men end up in a nursing home alone. I know, because my mama worked in the nursing homes. I cannot tell you how many rich white men ended up in nursing homes alone. They family not talking to them. And it's because they spent their whole entire life chasing a bag, chasing money, and neglecting their motherfucking family. And those people, and eventually they said no. And then cheating on their wives, right? Because, you know, who cares? So they make sure all the big awards can only be achieved through you neglecting your family. Okay? Being devoted to money for the illusion of closeness. Y'all, I'm reading my channel messages. I'm always reading my channel messages. That's it. I'm always reading my channel messages. Okay? Then they let women, and when I say the illusion of closeness, I mean the illusion of closeness to whiteness. Right? You have to, if you neglect your family, we'll make you partner, and then you get the illusion of closeness to whiteness, but they never really let you in the club. They never really let you in the club. If it ever comes down to it, they will use you as the scapegoat. If it ever comes down to it, you'll go the fuck missing. If it ever comes down to it, you don't actually get to be a part of the club. They're not actually giving you access, because they like to reserve that for their people. Anytime you infiltrate a space that they've created only for their people, what do? They protest. They try to make you seem like you're a savage or you're a problem or whatever the fuck. What do I think about Black billionaires? They sellouts. You don't get to be a billionaire through ethical practices. Michael Jordan, sellout. Jay-Z, sellout. Kanye, sellout. All of them are sellout. They sold out their own fucking people for money. Oh, but don't even get me fucking started. I think that's a pedophile. Sellout, for sure. But she also is enslaved and entrapped. She's enslaved and she's entrapped. I think a lot of women are. I also think the same thing about B. That woman is enslaved. Men act as handlers. And they extract and extract and extract. I think every single act of violence against her, B and R, I think every single act of violence has been to put them back in check. And so I think B did the safest thing for her. She got close to the enemy, because at least she would be protected from all the other sharks in the water. But I digress. All right. So then after they civilized the men, they let women get rights and taught you to treat them like objects and use them however you want in the workplace. And anytime you speak up, because women can't, and anytime you speak up, because women can't be disconnected from earth, we're always going to speak up. We're always going to tell our truth. We're always going to return to the truth, right? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't understand what I was saying here. All right. So they feel like they treat women however they want to in the workplace, right? Because women cannot be connected from earth because we carry earth's womb. We carry earth's womb. Okay. So they gaslight us and they use psychological warfare specifically on women, because then we don't know that we are in danger, because everything is happening psychologically. Nobody's physically beating you, but they're psychologically torturing you, right? By gaslighting you, which is, gaslighting comes from Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud is who we consider the godfather of psychology. But Sigmund Freud was an occultist. And what he was doing with those young boys, he invented gaslighting. And that's who they worship. Because gaslighting can fragment you, because eventually you start to doubt yourself. That's why he's lifted up. Anybody who lifted up in society, anybody we learned about in school, those are sellouts. Every single one of them is a sellout. They don't teach you about Malcolm X. They don't teach you about Nikola Tesla. They don't teach you that Thomas Edison could only ever light up that one light bulb. Concurrent currents, the reason why we have every single piece of technology is because of Nikola Tesla. But Nikola Tesla tricked JP Morgan. And that's why he was erased from history. It's because he tricked JP Morgan. He played JP Morgan's game better than JP Morgan did. And he was trying to tell us that energy was free and that energy could be harnessed from the earth. And JP Morgan in 1901 tore his shit down because JP Morgan gave him $250,000. Back then, in the 1900s, that's millions of dollars, right? And what Nikola Tesla told him he was going to do was build these radio stations so that we can communicate from place to place. But what he was actually doing is building these big ass towers so that he can lift stuff off the ground. And once he got successful of it and JP Morgan caught wind of what he was doing, JP Morgan had him ostracized, and he had all of his, he had him blackballed. And then he destroyed the tower that he was creating to harness free energy. And Thomas Edison was killing elephants. He was running electricity through elephants. Do you understand the gravity of that? An elephant is tons. It weighs tons. Do you know how much electricity you had to run through that motherfucking elephant to kill it? And he was doing it publicly. Public displays of this. You can find newspaper articles of this shit. Spooky shit. So everything that we have is because of Nikola Tesla, but they don't tell you that in motherfucking textbooks. They don't tell you that Nikola Tesla suggested something else that was way less invasive than the atomic bomb. Right? Albert Einstein created the atomic bomb. Nikola Tesla created a software to where if the enemies it would create like a force field around America, right? And it was an energetic force field, so it wasn't something you could actually see, but he had a technology where it would create a force field around America. And the moment that an enemy entered into our airspace, there was a laser shit that would just shoot that bitch out the sky. And they chose the atomic bomb. They chose the atomic bomb over that. Fucking insane. All because Nikola was blackballed, but they needed him too. That's why they had the Philadelphia project, where they were trying to move in between dimensions. And so Albert Einstein and Nikola Tesla worked together on the Philadelphia project, and they were trying to move this ship into another dimension and bring it back. And when they did, it happened. They were successful. But the issue was that when they went into the boat, after they moved it through dimension and moved that shit back, all of the people who was on the boat was a part of the boat when that motherfucker came back. And so the people were stuck in the walls. And they've even showed this. They've showed this in movies, by the way. The people being stuck in the wall and stuck. That's what happened. Yeah. These people and they motherfucking science. And they need to prove what they know. You don't need to prove it. You don't need to prove what you know. But they trying to prove that shit because they feel inadequate. Proving comes from performance. Proving comes from performance. It comes from shame. Something is wrong with me. And so they need to prove that ain't nothing wrong with me. I know everything. No, the fuck you don't. You don't know a bitch ass thing. You don't know a fuck ass thing. But anyways, why? Because we know. Because Earth is what remembers. Because melanin is what remembers. You ain't got none. And that's the, well, I mean, you have some. But that's the motherfucking problem. Y'all feel inadequate. So y'all trying to play God instead of just asking the goddesses that already exist here. Y'all didn't have a problem doing that in the Oracle of Delphi. You didn't have a problem doing that with the prophetess, the Sibyls. But men became jealous. Men became jealous of women. And that's why we live in a society. And that's why women are at the bottom of society, right? They gaslit them. They did psychological warfare. See, it's hidden or passive abuse. Psychological warfare is hidden or passive abuse. So women can maintain the illusion of safety because their physical body is at least safe. And so the men taught the women to be seen and not heard in the house first. So that when she stepped into the workplace, she was already used to men being in control. And that's why women couldn't get bank accounts. Women couldn't get anything. Women could not get nothing, right? Without a man. And so that forced women into marriage. Women had to be married in order for them to survive. They had to have a man get things for them or a man attached to them in order for them to survive. That's how they civilize women, because they civilizing the man, and the man needs to control his household. And then when we bring the women in the workforce, she's already been indoctrinated by her man, her husband. And that's why they didn't care about beating women. That's why they didn't care about keeping women barefoot and pregnant. They were literally trying to enslave you because women did not get their freedom when men got their freedom. Right. So they taught you to be seen and not heard in the house so that when you stepped into the workplace, you were used to men being in control. Because women, like I said, got marriage. Women got marriage instead of freedom. Because women got marriage instead of freedom. They couldn't have their own bank accounts or anything. So marriage was a survival tactic. Otherwise, you had to sell your body because the only thing women are worth is their coochie. That's what they were trying to teach you. The only thing you worth is your coochie. Right? So if you're not selling it, which they consider to be the spirit of Jezebel, that was going to demonize you any motherfucking way. But if you're not selling it, you know, oop, my bad, y'all. And that's why I also feel like men, that whole thing of like men not liking hoes and shit, that shit is bullshit. The only reason why they tell you that is because if they can convince you that being a hoe is wrong, they can steal your autonomy. If they can convince you that you actually have if they can demonize women who actually take back the power over their womb, which amplifies their energy and helps them to build these motherfucking legacies, they can control you. They can control you. And so they demonize people who take back their autonomy. Everybody. And so if you don't get married and the only way for you to get shit is for you to sell it. And if you end up selling it, you a hoe, you're going to hell. But it don't stop them from coming over there and paying for it though. They actually respect prostitutes a lot more than they respect married women, because married women are women who complied. Prostitutes took the power back in their own motherfucking hand, but they told you you can't be a prostitute. Because women understand, men understand that source energy comes from women. Creative energy comes from women. They need access to our womb in order for them to create and build. They need access to us. Even with kissing a woman, if a woman likes you, she sends euphoria through your body. Because you also got to think sex is the real marriage. That's a sacred energy exchange. You exchange your energy for theirs. And so if they got karma, if they got whatever, the woman is exchanging it. The woman is taking care of it. The woman's taking the weight of it. And that's why you'll see women who look motherfucking great after being with a man for so motherfucking long. And the moment they let him go, the moment they cut that tie off, they glowing. They starting a business. They're going back to school. They know who the fuck we are. The goddesses of this reality. We grant you what you have. Like we granted you life. That shit don't happen if we don't say yes to that shit. But they don't want us to know our worth because they can't control us. And they are terrified of what we know and of what we can do. Terrified. Okay. So. Okay. Otherwise, you had to sell your body because, again, women also need to be shown over and over again that they are unworthy, just like they need to show men, black men specifically. And that has always been enforced through rape, murder, and unaliving our children. That's how they show women they unworthy. Rape, murder, and unaliving our children. Right? Our children play a huge part of this because we naturally have an instinct to protect what we create or to steward what we create because we're the stewards of this place. Everything that exists here is because a woman brought it here. Everything. You can look at animals. You can look at that is the natural cycle. If you want to get here, you got to come through a woman. Okay? So a woman and her children. So our children play a huge part in this because our natural instinct is to protect what we create or to steward what we create. So they force us into survival by taking our kids away at any moment because the kids become the property of the husband. That's what happens when you get married. Okay? The man is the head of household. That means that he owns the woman. That's why she takes his name, and the children who also take his name. Y'all are his property. Because women didn't stop becoming slaves because we got marriage instead of freedom. Now we just willingly participating, which is just a whole nother motherfucking story. Right? And so the man can take away your kids at any moment, or they take away our bodily autonomy because our womb needs consent. And so grape. And sex is the true marriage. You merge with the person you have sex with. And you alchemize the energy of that person you have sex with. Women are amplifiers and purifiers of information or energy. So we birth or amplify energy. And then we also are part of the death cycle, which is purifying and releasing what no longer serves our truth. Right? And on top of that, we are the goddesses of this reality. Earth is full of women and her children. Therefore, we are the creator through our sexual energy, which is our divinity, okay? Which is also creative energy and emotional energy. And when they say that we are the creator and the destroyer, what that means is, yes, we create things, we amplify things, we birth things, but we also destroy things, meaning that with our truth, with the way that we express, with our truth, we collapse timelines. Because the truth is something that can be felt in your body. So me getting on here and me expressing my truth, I'm collapsing timelines. I'm collapsing old, distorted energy and ways of thinking. You used to believe this. Now you see this is a potential possibility that starts to shake the foundation of what you've based your life and your identity around. Okay? So through our clarity In expression, we destroy things, we collapse timelines. But that has to come from felt or lived truth, meaning like you have to live something under tension in order for you to truly know it's true, in order for your resonance to do the work, in order for your presence to do the work, right? And so we go through death and rebirth cycles every month because we are adjusting to the needs of our creations, right? Just how Earth adjusts to the needs, women adjust to the needs as well. You know, like how they say, put the seed under your tongue, put it in the grass, the ground, and the plant is going to adjust and create based off of what you need specifically. It's because Earth is our body. Earth birthed us. And so Earth is responsible for stewarding a reality where we get our needs met, a reality of abundance. But women are so you can think of Earth as like the macrocosm, or we'll say mesocosm, right? The middle ground. We are the microcosm, which means we're just Earth on a smaller level. And so we do the same thing. We do the same thing. And so where am I at? So we adjust to the needs of our creation, like Earth adjusts to us. That's why women are the insight. Okay, let me get into this. Why women are the insight. It's like placing a seed under your tongue. We talked about that, and planting it. It will contain the nutrients you need. We let the seed read our frequency, which is read through the waters in our body, because that's where spirit is. Spirit is in the water, right? And so spit is water. Okay. And so we let the seed read our frequency through our waters, which connects everything. Water connects everything. Okay. Then you plant it, and then it has the nutrients. Women are more in tune with their internal waters, or more connected to their bodies, because we menstruate, which means we have an intimate relationship with our womb, whether we want to or we don't. Okay. So we clean ourselves differently. We pay attention to our body differently. We pay attention to the subtle shifts in our body because we're always going through these cycles of death and rebirth. You cannot ignore that as a woman. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to be in tune with your body because you're having a period, right? You're literally feeling the cycles happen, right? And so we have to clean ourselves differently than men, which is why we always trying to teach men how to wipe their motherfucking ass, because they act like they don't know how to wipe their motherfucking ass, right? And we have to navigate hormone spikes all the time. And it's not that men don't feel anything. It's just that men are being conditioned to think that they're feelingless beings, right? And so whatever you believe, you create. And so we're constantly in this state of moving, and we can feel the shifts. So we feel internally and externally because we have to, unless we condition ourselves through numbness. Okay. That's why we are called the bridge. We tend to notice internally and externally. And because we are one, meaning like all women are connected through mitochondria, right? We share the same mitochondria. We all have a natural desire to nurture, because that's womb energy, right? That's womb energy. Womb holds you and supports you while you're being created. It's womb energy. So we have a natural inclination to nurture, and the womb holds and nurtures as the baby is formed and the baby starts to change. We feel responsible. So we feel for the people we love, meaning like we will feel it for them. We will take the weight for them. And that's why society's also created this dynamic that women are supposed to prioritize everybody else's needs in front of them. Because if we are conditioned to believe that that is what we're supposed to do energetically, we will alchemize all your fucking karma. And so they're also spiritual bypassing through women, because they don't got to deal with that shit, because they bring that shit home to you, sleep with you, get all up in your womb, and your womb wants to help. Your womb wants to protect. Your womb wants to nurture the people that it loves. Right. And that's why you shouldn't just be sharing your body with everybody. All right. Okay. So we feel responsible. So we feel for the people that we love. And sometimes we try to regulate them through withholding truth or prioritizing their comfort, often neglecting ourselves in the process, especially because anytime Anything goes wrong in society, they blame the woman. She should have picked better. She should have wore something less revealing. She should have stayed home at night, etc. It's psychological warfare because women are the natural leaders, and that's why they need us to in this constant state of self-doubt. Because the only way that they get to lead is if we are not standing on our throne, if we are not sitting on our throne, right? So they can eclipse our energy. We mistrust ourselves when we know the truth, but we keep shoving it down. Be seen and not heard, right? That causes us to shove down our truth. But the truth that we need to understand is that I created you. I created you. Why would you be leading me? If I was here first, and the only way you could get here is if I birth you into existence, in what fucking world are you the leader of me? Y'all see how crazy that fucking sound? It make my fucking ass itch. It make my eye twitch because that shit is crazy. And I've known it my whole life. I've been feeling like I've been living in a fucking dystopian reality my whole motherfucking life because it does none of this shit made sense to me ever. You know, so I created you. Why would you be leading me? Who do you think knows more about life? The one who gives life or the one that plays little to no part in the creation process? You're not actually creating, you are donating sperm. But that sperm is your mother's energy. That's your mother's story. Because men happen because women fragmented. They're a fragmented version of us, an inverted version of us. You never stop being your mother. The legacy comes from the mother. It does not come from the man. They don't have no legacy, but they need you to think that they have a legacy. And that's why I say, oh, the son is the man's legacy. Well, biologically, that's a motherfucking lie. Get Maury Povich on the phone. That's a motherfucking lie. We need to start chasing them with the motherfucking cameras because they're liars. They're liars, right? And so even your sperm is your mother's intelligence. It holds your mother's story. Women continue the mom legacy through their mitochondria, right? Which every child has the mother's mitochondria. And men continue it through the sperm. One side is feminine and the other is masculine. The feminine side is inside of the body, which is the mitochondria. The masculine side is outside of the body, which is the sperm, right? Womb envy. That's how we got here. Womb envy. They were mad that they are not the gods of this reality and they are only goddesses because Earth is feminine. So if Earth is the god of this reality, because everything created and produced, it comes from her energy, right? And she can only create in her image. That means she can only create feminine. And then the feminine creates something else. I honestly think, I ain't even gonna start that. Let me not even go there because I'll go on a whole motherfucking tangent. All right. So, and to bring this back full circle, if you want to study life, you have to study the woman. If you want to study life, you have to study the woman because she is the life bringer. Right. If you want to study death, you have to push people towards death. Violence. If you want to study death, you have to push people towards death. And hopefully you can bring them back so they can give you the information, which is a near-death experience, right? I think the OA, I think that's a real story. I don't think they made that shit up. I think they was pushing people towards death and bringing them back, and they killed them over and over again because they were trying to figure out the secrets of the universe. Science, right? Because I remember I told you the West chose science. And if they can put MK Ultra, if they can put MK Ultra in Stranger Things, you think they're not putting it other places? The OA is a TV show. It's on Netflix. But it talks about near-death experiences and stuff. So Earth knows all. Earth knows all. So who better to practice on than people who hold the most amount of her energy? Oops, sorry. I don't even know if y'all heard me. So Earth holds all. Earth holds everything. Earth remembers. So who better to practice on than people who hold the most amount of her energy? Black women. Because not only do we have the melanin, we have the mitochondria. And the mitochondria is made in the goddess's essence. Right. But again, they have to push us towards death. And so if we talking about the life side, that's women. But if we talking about the death side, they have to push us through death. And they do that through what? Can anybody guess? How do you think they pushing us to that, towards death? Oh, it's breaking up really bad. Is it breaking up for anybody else? Children, trauma. Yeah, trauma is one of the answers. Not anymore. It was because I was charging up my phone, and when I put the charger in, it like cut out. Low iron. Competition, y'all. Competition, overworking. Yes, they push us towards death through competition. They're overexerting your body to see if it's gonna break. So athletes, entertainers, right? Because I was an athlete. I've been an athlete my entire life because I'm 6 foot tall. Y'all can't tell right now. I would, if my titties was in a bra, I would show up I would stand up so I could show you. Okay. But I'm 6 feet tall. I've been an athlete my whole entire life. I've competed at the Olympic level. Okay. You can Google me. But anyways, there is no greater psychological warfare than athleticism. Because when I say athleticism is going to push you to, damn, what's going on? Athleticism is going to push you to your fucking limits. Nothing will cause you to die over and over and over and over and over again into burnout like athleticism. I remember I was the only girl who was traveling with the boys, and we was going to regionals or we were going to worlds, one of the two, because I did track and field, right? I was the only girl who was traveling. I remember for about 4 months, my shoulder was hurt. And I would not tell my coach. I just kept practicing. And like he would say little shit, like pick up your arm, lift your arm. And I just be like, okay, I would give him attitude and I would be irritated with him, but I would not tell him, hey, I think something is wrong with my shoulder, because I feel like the whole team was depending on me because I'm the only girl traveling. If I'm out, everybody's out. And so I went to regionals, I scored, I did what I did. And as soon as I was done, I walked out of the ring. I walked over to my coach, and I scored 4th, by the way, with a fucked up fucking shoulder, throwing my PR too, which means that this is the best I've ever thrown. I walk over to him after I got done, and he was like, yeah, thank you. And I was like, yeah, I think I tore something in my shoulder about 4 months ago. And I just started telling him that. He was like, what the fuck? Why didn't you tell me? Because the society we live in makes us feel like we have to hold everything together. There's no worse psychological warfare than athleticism. Okay? And so psychological warfare sometimes can be tied to achievements. Right? We're not allowed to be in the human side of us because they chose mind over matter, which is mind over being human, spiritual over matter, over being human. And so they say, no, it's just a mindset issue. It's just a mindset issue. You just ain't got that dog in you. It's not a mindset issue. My body has fucking limits. My spirit is eternal, infinite. My body is finite. And they don't give a fuck. They want you to push through that shit. And so what they're trying to do is they tie your worth to achievements so that you fight to achieve things. Otherwise, you feel like you're not worthy. And they watch you break over and over again because they're studying your mind. What happens? And so even with the shit with the NFL, them getting hit and them getting them PTSD shit, they're studying your mind. They're trying to see how far they can take it. Yeah. So competition is what tests the body. Entertainment entertainment. They dress it up as entertainment. But also singers, artists are enslaved. They get them in a contract, right? They enslave them. Sometimes they need them to sell their motherfucking soul too. Go against their truth. That's what selling your soul is, going against your truth. Because every time you go against your truth, you generate less and less and less soul energy. That's what a soulless being is. You never disconnected from your soul though. You never are soulless. You just have less of soul energy, right? And so they stress their voice out through touring. When you tour, you could hit 70, 80 fucking countries in 3 months. And then they want you to drop another album and tour again and again because they're stressing the voice. They want to see what the limits are, right? So, hold on. What time is it? All right, I'll be on here for about 15 more minutes and I got to go because I need a break before I take class. So they needed your worth tied to money because money is the energy being hoarded in the capitalistic system. Then they only taught really which money is the attention. They need your attention and they give you money in exchange. Then they only taught you the spiritual bypass so you would avoid the uncomfortable. And if they keep providing comforts for you like cell phones and social media and fluffy bamboo blankets, they pacify you. Right? So if you're, they teach you the spiritual bypass so you would avoid the uncomfortable. So if you ever tried to dismantle the system, your identity or the illusion of your worth would have to die, which means you would have to give up your safety and your comfort. And to somebody who is wounded and somebody who is in a chronic state of stress, that feels like physical death. And that's why I say, if you ever went through a process of transformation, spiritual bypassing is trying to live through your mind instead of your body. You're trying to think your way through it instead of feel your way through it. You're a feeling being. And so it's over spiritualizing. It's talking yourself out of being emotionally vulnerable. It's talking yourself out of being emotionally open. And that's why we got a society full of emotionally unavailable people. Okay. And so, they tell us feeling is weak. It makes you weak. You're too sensitive. Oh, that's a woman thing. And then they demonize the woman. So you associate it with something bad, right? But feeling is your way of being. It's how you read energy. If you are not feeling, you cannot read energy. You cannot have an actual connection with spirit because spirit is frequency. Frequency needs to be felt. It cannot be thought into. It needs to be felt. You know? And so if you ever try to dismantle the system, your identity or the illusion of your worth would have to die, which means you would have to give up your safety and your comfortability. But they built the whole entire society around you having the illusion of safety and comfortability through the system. So they kept you away from death because death is the only way to transform, which is feeling uncomfortable, right? Society never expected you to actually grow. So that would feel extremely dangerous and unsafe to you. Because you have never not known what was next because they're constantly giving you the answers through media, through the news, through whatever. And so we have this fear of death and this fear of the unknown because we've never not known, according to them, though. We literally have never known anything. Actually, that's the truth. And so in Egypt, they used to worship the sun, right? And this is what I'm talking about, the black sun and Saturn. I don't know if I should get into this, though, today. Hold on. Let me see. How long is this? Oh, child, I'm about to go on a tangent. It's not super long, though. It's not super long. Okay, this will be the last thing I do. Then I'm getting the fuck on. All right. This will be on my podcast, too, after this. I've been posting this to the podcast as well for those of y'all who want to listen through because I know I'll be on here long with it talking for hours, you know. So anyways, in Egypt, they used to worship the sun. And so like the book that they had was called the Helios Biblios. And a lot of the stories from the Bible actually come from the Helios Biblios, which was the sun Bible, right? And so they worship the sun in the sky, which is why Jesus in the Bible is actually the sun in the sky, because they just copied and pasted the Helios Biblios, right? And so in ancient Egypt, they worship the sun, which is the life giver. Okay, so they worship the birthing process, right? Saturn used to be called the black sun because it teaches us that we have to die to our own self-imposed limitations and external limitations to receive abundance. And so they call Saturn the black sun. Saturn and Pluto are the death cycles. So the elites worship Saturn because they want control, and control is achieved through restrictions and limitations. Right. I forgot I had some coffee right here. Let's speed things up. Ooh, that's good. That's some good shit. Hold on. All right. Where was I? So the elites worship Saturn because they want control, and control is achieved through restrictions and limitations. So they place them on you externally, so you will place them on yourself internally, as within, so without. So what they do, everything they do is in the physical. And because you're constantly seeing it and you're constantly in the environment of it, the environment that you're in, as within, so without. So they affect you in the physical so they can affect you internally. And that's why you need to be internally stable and realize you're just noticing what's happening, but you're not becoming or letting it hijack you. You know, like when you become enraged at seeing Black people dying, they are literally gaslighting you through taking them through a court process and then us getting no justice. Again, they're giving you, they want your attention for nothing, because you think you're gonna get justice. Oh no. Why would they do that when they could just hoard your energy for free? Yeah. So they place them on you externally so that you can place them on yourself internally, as within, so without. That's why the world is a stage. They teach you to internalize and overanalyze things, because then you'll be too distracted with your thoughts to take action, which weakens the masculine principle. The masculine principle inside of you, the masculine principle inside of you, your protection system. Because the masculine is what you got to get through to get to the feminine. Okay. In order for you to get through into the body, you have to bypass the masculine principle, which is your defense mechanism. Right. And so they use the music industry. Why? Because sound bypasses the masculine principle. And then through everything else, they weaken the masculine. They even emasculate men in public ways, because as within, so without. Right. So you'll be too distracted with your thoughts and you'll never take action, right? You don't know how to make a decision for yourself because you're waiting for somebody else to make a decision for you. And that's also the whole concept of government, right? You need somebody to make the decision for you so you don't have to make it for yourself, right? And so that means that you externalize everything, right? But on the chance that doesn't work, they demonstrate something and subtly program you to accept it as true. They tell you you only hear through your ears. They tell you you only see through your eyes, but that's not true. Every single atom, every single cell in your body can see. Every single cell in your body can hear. And that's why when you dream, you can still hear, you can still feel, you can still see. What are you seeing with if your body is shut down? What are you seeing with? Your spirit. That's what you're seeing with. Your frequency. That's what you're seeing with. Right? But they tell you you only see through your eyes, you only see through your ears, because that belief system limits you. It traps you when it's not true. Because what's crazy is I'm a medium. Y'all know this. I do mediumship professionally. I talk to animals. I talk to people. I talk to plants. Okay? When I feel something, feeling is my eyes. When I feel something, an image is created in my head. And so it's almost like I'm remembering something. And so like if somebody telling me a story, let me tell you how truth works for me. Then this has happened my whole life. If somebody is telling me a story, I know that it's true because when I feel what they feeling, I could see the imagery of it. I could see it in my head. But when somebody is telling me a lie, I feel what they feel and I can't generate an image. Why? Because it don't exist. Because it does not fucking exist. And so that's how it's been my whole life. I can tap into you when somebody is remembering something. I can tap into your memory field. I don't know if y'all seen the movie Disclosure Day that just came out. When she was in the car telling that man, oh, I don't need it. She's like finishing his sentences and he's like, how are you doing that? She's like, I just need you to remember. And then I can tap into that. That is literally, I've been saying, if you go back to my previous lives, I've been saying that for over a year. That's how my gifts work. I literally am like touching into your field. And so if you're remembering something, I'm remembering it with you. You know, but if you are creating another truth because your truth is uncomfortable, I could feel that shit too because I'm not getting an image. I can't see it. If I can't see it with my feeling, because it comes in as feeling and an image is generated, then you lying. And I just be like, okay, that's crazy. But anyway, so they tell you that you only see through your ear. I mean, you only hear through your ears. You only see through your eyes. They tell you that some supernatural being is coming to save you. So you just have to wait, which puts you in stagnation. You're waiting for something to happen. That you have to be taught when wisdom lives inside of you. And you can't be angry because anger is the energy that would cause rebellion. And so if they make sure that you're never angry and that you associate anger with hatred, and then they tell you that hating something is bad, they uproot you right then and there because you're trying not to hate. You try not to be angry. You're trying to keep a pure heart. But they hate you. But they could be angry towards you. Their anger will lock you up and put you in jail. Their anger will shoot you through a motherfucking door. Their anger will kill your fucking kids. But they tell you if you angry, it's a problem. Right. And they tell you you can't get justice, etc. Because they constantly showing us that we can't get justice because they will unalive us and then we get no justice. Right. But then when a black kid does the same thing as a white kid, he get 35 years. And the black kid could be defending themselves. Right. Because they want you to know you are worth nothing. That's what they want you to believe, because that is the spell. That is the distortion. Yeah. And so if they discourage you before you even try, you'll do the same thing. As within, so without. So they continuously show you ain't nothing for you over here. And so you don't even try. You just give up. Before you even got a chance to start, you give up. It's a setup. Through restrictions and limitations. Saturn. They place all these restrictions and limitations on you specifically. Saturn. They trap you in your mind because what has to die in order for you to become the version you want to be is your perspective. It's your mindset. And so they trap you in your mind, the identity you created to survive it all. And I don't know, but when I think of Saturn, I see like all these ones and zeros. And so what's strange is, I don't know if y'all have ever seen The Matrix, right? Y'all know how like it's a black screen and they got all these ones and zeros in green. When I tap into the energy of Saturn, that's what I see. And so I think Saturn has a lot to do with technology, because when I tap into Saturn, I see a black screen with ones and zeros. And I told you that whole thing about them telling me that Saturn was an android and Pluto was an android and whatever. I don't know if I believe that yet, but I don't know if I believe this either yet. I'm just giving you what I was channeling while I was doing this, or what I was picking up on. Okay. And so when I channel into Saturn, I get a bunch of ones and zeros that look like a computer code coming down. Now, isn't code how you place restrictions and limitations on things? Like when you're coding a computer, let's look it up. Hold on. How do you create restrictions and limitations when it comes to computer programming? Restrictions and limitations in computer program are implemented through operating system level controls, language specific constructs, and architectural constraints to ensure security, reliability, and complexity. How can you? Let's see, what is coding? Coding is also known as computer programming, in the process of creating a set of instructions called code, instructions that tell a computer how to perform specific tasks or solve problems. It acts as a translator between human language and machine language, converting human readable commands into binaries, zeros and ones, that hardware can execute. While the terms are often used interchangeably, coding specifically refers to the act of writing the instructions in a program language, where programming encompasses the broader life system of software development, including design, testing, debugging, and maintenance. The purpose: it enables the creation of software applications, websites, games, and data analysis tools by defining logic, algorithm, and data structure. Structure is restriction, limitation, right? It needs a structure. Okay. So, maybe code comes from Saturn or technology. And so I looked up Saturn's relationship to technology, and I don't think I got anything when I looked that up. And so, actually, hold on, let me see. Saturn's, does technology come from Saturn? Actually, I think something else. I thought I wrote it down. Hold on, let me see. So Saturn is, when it comes to planetary alignment, it influences human innovation, scientific consensus attributed to all technological advances in engineering. However, yes, systemic thinking, physical engineering, infrastructure for technology rather than originating it. And so Saturn is associated with the infrastructure for technology, which, what does infrastructure mean? Infrastructure means an underlying base or foundation, especially for an organization or system. The basic facilities, services, and installations needed for the functioning of a community or society, such as transportation or communication systems, water and power lines, and public institutions, including schools, post offices. So infrastructure is the system of public work. So resources, infrastructure is the resources needed for something. Okay. So, or another theory is that Saturn looks just like a wormhole to me. What if it's the void womb, right? Because we got 3 wombs inside of us. And let me see, hold on, let me see if I can show this to y'all. And so Spirit was showing me that there are only 3 chakras. You remember how I told you there's only 3 numbers, 3, 6, and 9. They also said there's only 3 chakras. And they said that's the sacral, the heart, and the third eye. Right? Hold on, let me see if I can get a marker so I can. Okay, let's see if this works. And so let's just say, oh, and they told me too how energy moves through the body. We don't recognize that the infinity sign is how energy moves. Hold on, so energy moves like this. So it's it's a figure 8. How energy is supposed to be moving through you. Y'all see that? Right? All right. So what was I saying? So, yeah. So there's 3 wombs. And so the sacral is the water womb. Okay, because this is water at the bottom. The third eye is the fire womb. And I talked about the different wombs. I talked about us having 3 wombs. It was a content I created a while ago. The fire womb, which is the spiritual world, right? Which they say is Neptune. So they say that this is Neptune. The sacral, I really don't know. Like maybe it's Earth. Um, I don't know. But then there's a void womb, which sits in the center. Okay. And it's a balancing point. The void is the balancing point. Now, what's interesting about Saturn is that Saturn is the energy of sacred neutrality, which means that if this is the sun, the fire womb, the sun, right? I feel like I have this backwards. Hold on, let me finish reading first, and then we're going to come back to this because I feel like I had it figured out in my head, but now that I'm writing it, I'm feeling unsure. Okay, so let me go back. So another theory, Saturn looks like a wormhole. What if the void womb of the universe is Saturn? Because hear me out. Saturn has an intense magnetic pull. Oh no, so then that would make Saturn the dielectric energy. No, that would make Saturn the water womb. Oh yes, because they told me that they think well, hold on. Let me not jump ahead. Let me give it to y'all the way that I wrote it. All right. So Saturn has an intense magnetosphere. You can look this up. Saturn has an intense magnetosphere, which means I think Saturn is the womb. I think Saturn is like the womb we have in our body, the water womb. I think Saturn is that, right? And I think Saturn is a portal, like kind of like the sun is a portal. I think the sun is a portal to Neptune, and Saturn is a portal to the bottom of the ocean, Earth, to the bottom of the ocean. Okay, but let me keep going, right? So Saturn looks like a wormhole, right? What if it's the void womb of the universe? Because hear me out, Saturn has an intense magnetosphere, which means it's deeply magnetic. Magnetism is female energy. Saturn is dark and cold, which means it's female energy. They tell you that Saturn is the father. There's no fucking way, because it does not align with the natural cycles of Earth. If it's dark and it's cold, it's feminine by proxy, right? And so I think it's the divine feminine energy. I think goddess energy comes from Saturn. And I think that the reason why they worship Saturn is because they worship the goddess, kind of how they worship a black Madonna, how the Pope worships a black Madonna, but they tell you to worship Jesus. Because they know what the truth is. They don't want you to know what the truth is, right? And so what I was thinking is that I looked it up. Saturn has an intense magnetosphere, which means it's deeply magnetic. It pulls things towards it, just like a wormhole. A wormhole is going to suck you into it. It's magnetic. It pulls, right? And so it also makes a sound like a wormhole, because a wormhole has a sound. What if they're lying about it? I don't know. Something to think about. What if the center of the universe, where all things exist, including technology, meaning, because if it's the void womb, it's the infinite. Oh no. So that's where I'm getting fucking tripped up. The infinite is Earth. The infinite is Earth. The eternal is Neptune. The infinite is Earth. Oh, that's better than sex. I tell y'all, it's better than sex. And then the central point, which I'm thinking this must be Earth then, because Earth is the nucleus. Okay, so this is Earth, the meeting point between these two energies. We are closest to the sun in the summer, in the spring. That's why it's hot. But we are closest to Saturn in the winter. In the autumn, that's why it's cold. Okay, so back to my handy dandy notebook. What time is it? Okay. All right. So if that is the case, if Saturn is the, oh no, I'm sorry, I have this backwards. Just kidding. Hold on. Walk with me now. Neptune would be the infinite. Saturn would be the eternal. And Saturn will be leading into Earth, and Neptune will be leading into Earth. Yeah, I think that they are polarities of energy, like a cell. You know how like a cell? Yeah, both of them are leading into Earth, because Earth is the meeting place. Like we are the meeting place between spirit and matter. We are the meeting place between spirit and matter. We are the thing in between. Earth is the thing in between, which means that Earth is the void where anything can happen. Anything is possible. That's why we have this energy on Earth where we can create anything. That aligns with nature. So when we talking about a cell, right, the nucleus is this thing in the middle, right? And then there's like electrons and protons circling around it. right? There's a positive charge and there's a negative charge. And then in the middle, where this positive and negative charge meet, is neutral. It's neutral energy. So anything can happen. This is where presence happens. Oh, that's good. That's good. Okay, hold on, y'all. So, anyways, yeah, duality. So, what if the center of the universe, where all things exist, including technology? I don't mean the center of the universe. I actually mean the feminine, right? Because the feminine is the infinite, which means that there are infinite possibilities within feminine energy, divinely feminine energy. What if Saturn is the divine feminine and the sun is the divine masculine, and that would make Earth a combination of them both? But Earth is more feminine than it is masculine, because everything is more feminine than masculine. Even a woman has masculine energy in it. You know what I'm saying? Like the balancing point between the two, right? And so we have pure intelligence. We don't need technology. What if technology is the Antichrist because it's mimicking us? Pure light is using synthetic light, electricity. And pure light comes from truth versus distorted light, or the mirror or the inversion of the thing. Technology is an inversion of us, what we do naturally. What if technology, or the introduction of technology, is what caused our reality to be inverted? We stopped depending on our internal wisdom and we started searching for proof outside of ourselves, instead of just trusting in our internal knowing and the unknown. What if Saturn is where dark matter comes from? This is just me. This is all hypothetical. Me just racking my brain with shit, right? So, what if Saturn is where dark matter comes from? Saturn is the darkest and the coldest planet. Dark matter is influenced by the gravity of black holes, which means that if Saturn actually is a wormhole, any black matter that's kind of like flying through the universe is going to be attracted to Saturn, because Saturn is magnetic, right? And so that means that Saturn, if Saturn has rings around it, the rings could be dark matter, because dark matter is going to, it's kind of like, y'all remember them toys we used to have where you could draw and it was like very magnetic and you can draw and it would like pull the magnets to the center? Do y'all know what I'm talking about? Yeah, technology is what happened to Atlantis. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? Those little boards you used to have, and there was like a magnet. Like that is what I keep seeing in my head, like dark matter magnetized to it, right? Because I think dark matter might be what technology come from, but I'm not really sure. So this is just me brainstorming, right? And so dark matter is influenced by the gravity of a black hole and can orbit around them. You can look this up. Etch and sketch. Yes. I love when y'all know ball, because I can't remember everything by myself. And that's why we got to do this in team environments, right? And so the etch and sketch like that. And so you can look this up. Dark matter is attracted to wormholes, right? And so, wait, where the fuck? So Saturn is the darkest and coldest planet. Dark matter is influenced by the gravity of a black hole and can orbit around it. So if Saturn is a wormhole or a black hole, it's possible. And dark matter is what holds galaxies together. Our heart chakra is the center of our being, and it is the neutral or 0 point space where spirit and matter meet. I think our heart chakra is Earth. I think the heart is Earth, because if you take Earth and heart are antigrams. If you take if you take the H off of heart and put it at the end, you get Earth, and vice versa. They're antigrams, right? And so we are in the neutral zone. We are in the 0 point energy. We are in the void. Earth is the void. So that means that Saturn would be the water womb and Sun would be the fire womb. Okay? Just to clear that up, because, it took me a second to get there, baby. It took me a second. I was going on the merry-go-round, but I knew I was going to find it again. All right? So the heart space is neutral, or the 0 point energy where spirit and matter meet. Earth is where spirit and matter meets. We are the physical manifestation of that. We have proof of that. Earth is where spirit and matter meet. Right? We are the proof of that, right? And so, sacred neutrality. Okay, so I looked up sacred neutrality, and sacred neutrality is associated with Saturn. Okay, where all things are possible. Sacred neutrality. It's achieved through presence, which is mean you have to be in the heart space. You have to be connected. It has to happen on Earth because Earth is the center point. Earth is where everything is possible, right? So now you can go and look this up. But Saturn is astrologically linked to sacred neutrality, the Lord of karma, which balances the scales, the Lord of karma, and the embodiment of impartial justice, which means Saturn may be the problem and the solution, because I think the medicine is in the poison, right? If we balance out our energy through mastering neutrality, which is the divine feminine energy, by the way, Saturn, the divine feminine, I think she's the goddess, okay? Or keeping our inner state still through acceptance, we affect the meso and the microcosm, as within, so without. Saturn is the stabilizer of the highs and the lows. You can look this up. Saturn is the stabilizers of the highs and the lows. You know what else stabilizes things? Feminine energy. Feminine energy holds, right? Just like your womb holds. It stabilizes things. So Saturn neutralizes the highs and the lows. How we achieve balance. It's detached from materialism and non-judgmental. That's why anything can happen. It's our conscious mind, which is neutral until we start making meaning. Okay. What if the lies we're being told about Saturn were to disconnect us from the most feminine energy, because the most feminine energy is going to remember? Okay. Saturn is the darkest and the coldest, and it has the most intense magnetic pull. That means Saturn is dielectric energy. It's magnetism. If it's magnetic, which is purely feminine, darkness is purely feminine, and feminine energy, like your body and Earth, hold memory. Earth is also feminine. Memory also contains your subconscious programming. It's usually represented by gray, which gray is black and white mixed together, the balancing point. So gray is in the middle, is the middle point between white and black, and represented by the number 8, which is Saturn, because 8 is the balancing. Oh, stop it. 8. The infinity sign, 8. This is how this energy, and if you look in your body, right, you have a pendula, and you have the ida, which are the two channels that run through the land of milk and honey, right? One takes energy up, the other one brings energy down. And so even when we look at the medical field, it's usually a staff with snakes going around it like this, right? It's a staff with the snake. Do y'all get what I'm saying? In astrology, Saturn is associated with femme because it's ruled by the earth. Where do you see that at? Because everywhere I've ever looked, Saturn is they call Saturn the father. Yes, Kiera, yes. My class is at 5 o'clock. I still got 2 hours. I don't need y'all to manage me though. I got me. Y'all worry about y'all. I got me. I appreciate y'all wanting to protect me. I really do. Western astrology is ruled by Capricorn, which is also Earth. Yeah, but Saturn is technically Aquarius and Capricorn, not just Capricorn. No, it's okay. Y'all got to know I got an aversion to being told what to do. Yes, the Ida and the Pingala. Yeah. And so this 8, the balance. 8 is balance. Because if you look at it, number 8, it's the same on both sides. Well, suppose if I could draw properly, it'll be the same on both sides. The balancing point. Saturn is our way. Saturn is the issue because they've inverted it, but Saturn is also the solution. You need balance. You need balance between the spiritual energy and the material energy. Sacred neutrality. Stillness, the feminine, you need to bring the feminine because the feminine is 90%, 80%. So that means the feminine, if you fix the feminine, you fix the problem because this is the infinite. This is the eternal. This exists out of time and space. Do y'all get what I'm saying? Okay. So anyways, back to what I was saying. Memory also contains your subconscious programming. It usually represented by gray. Okay. So, and represented by the number 8, which is an infinity sign, even on both sides, the symbol for balance. What if Saturn is the mother goddess energy, 80% feminine, 20% masculine, or 90%, 10%? I can't really figure out which one it is because it changes based on who's telling the story, right? Over higher self. Sorry, our higher self, our divine being. We sprang from the dark. Saturn, we sprang from the dark. And you connect to Saturn through stillness and neutrality, right? And so, you know, everything they do is reverse psychology. That's what I'm about to get into, is that everything they do is not mimicry. I thought it was that, like, they do mimic rituals. And that's why, like, even in England, they had those little tall hats that represented the afros that we used to have, which would represent our royalty or the people who were ordained or whatever. And so I thought that everything was them mimicking us. But I looked up the definition between mimicry and reverse psychology, and they're doing reverse psychology. Sigmund Freud. It all comes back to that evil motherfucker, right? And so we sprang from the dark. And also, maybe those of us who have heavy Saturn placements have a hard time here because we remember the dark, and they're demonizing the feminine energy, right? The uncomfortable, the death cycle. Feminine energy is the death cycle, but it's the giver, and it is both, right? And so, hard to remember the dark. Everyone here is spiritual bypassing, trying to bypass the death cycle or the dark, where you have to get uncomfortable because you can't see where you are going. Okay? I think it's something to this. It would explain why them people worship Saturn like the Pope worships the Black Madonna. They know the truth. They don't want us to know the truth. They know, but you don't know, because they're hoarding her energy and using it in a distorted way. And they do bad things and let you know through symbology, or I'm sorry, they're constantly doing bad things, right? And they get away with it, which is like the Epstein stuff, right? All of that shit, there's been no justice for that, right? And so we constantly see them get away with atrocities, murdering our people, all those things, right? And then they use our symbology, our ancient symbology, right? They use sex magic. They do these public sacrifices, all those things, right? And because all those things are associated with them, and they're telling us that they're worshiping Saturn, we associate Saturn with bad. We associate Saturn with evil. They demonize the feminine. They're demonizing the feminine, right? And so you associate Saturn with something bad or something sinister. I don't know if it were... Oh, yeah. I think it's brilliant. It would be brilliant, right? And so then they start talking about reverse psychology. Reverse psychology, which we know that they are known for reverse psychology, because again, that's gaslighting. That's telling you to look over here while they're doing something over there, right? And so they mimic our ancient mudras, our symbols of ancient wisdom. And then I kept on going back to reverse psychology because Spirit was like, no, it's not mimicking. Mimicking is something different. It is reverse psychology. And so I looked up the definition of reverse psychology, and I got reverse psychology is a persuasion technique. Reverse psychology is a persuasion technique where someone advocates for the opposite of what they actually want, relying on psychological reactance to motivate the target to do the desired behavior by asserting their freedom and autonomy. Okay? A tactic to manipulate an outcome. It's always deliberate. So they want to rely on psychological reactance. Now, let's look at what psychological reactance is. Psychological reactance is an unpleasant motivational arousal that occurs when an individual perceives their behavioral freedom or autonomy are being threatened, restricted, or eliminated. Okay? And because they are the oppressive force, anything they say, the oppressed is going to question it. And they're going to want to do the opposite. Y'all get what I'm saying? Y'all get what I'm saying? Put some 444s in the chat if y'all are following me. Right? And so it's a tactic to manipulate an outcome. It's always deliberate. Saturn is the balance, and Earth is more feminine than masculine, and the sun is more masculine than feminine. Maybe they are the triplicity in life that they keep talking about. The sun, Saturn, and Earth. What if those are the three wombs, right? The sun is the positive polarity, Saturn is the negative polarity, and Earth is the nucleus, right? And a nucleus is the central part of an atom where two things meet, right? So that means Saturn is actually the water or the electric energy, the negative charge. So maybe it leads to the bottom of the ocean. I don't know where that came from, y'all. I posted about the three wombs on my page before. I don't got time to get into that today because I'm really trying to get through this. I'm almost done with this and then I'm getting the fuck off of here. But I posted about the three wombs. You just got to go back to my page and watch it. So maybe Saturn leads to the bottom of the ocean because the sun leads here, right? The sun leads here, but it also leads somewhere else because it's a portal. I think the somewhere else is Neptune because Neptune is the spiritual light, the third eye of the universe, Neptune, right? And it's blue in color, which is crazy because the third eye, right? And then, so they're trying to get here. So the sun is a portal that can come through, but I think it's the portal through Neptune. And so I had a dream one time, y'all, where a being was like I was waiting on somebody to come, but I was really, really nervous. Like I felt like it was a bad person or it's a bad thing. And then the person gets there and the person's trying to tell me something. They're trying to hand me something, but I wouldn't take it. But they handed me a comic book that said Neptune's Castle on it, like Neptune's Castle. And then it was like water and it was like something else on there. And so as soon as I got that, the person who was in front of me disappeared. And so we went through the house, in the back of the house. And as soon as I get to the back of the house, it sounded like somebody was downloading something into my consciousness. Like literally, it sounded like a message was coming from above, but you could hear it like surround sound around you. And I was like, y'all don't hear that to the people around me? And they was like, no, we don't hear anything. And they got like really cagey and really weird. And then I jumped out of the dream and I immediately said, reprogrammed my mind. Cause I was like, what the fuck is that? But Neptune is not what we think it is. Neptune is the spiritual light. Neptune is the spiritual light. And I told y'all in the last couple episodes when they were saying Neptune is actually Polaris. But anyways, so where did I go? What if Saturn leads to the bottom of the ocean? If it's a portal like the sun leads to Earth, which is the conscious mind, and Saturn leads to the water, which is the subconscious mind. Negative energy is the opposite of activation, which is non-action or neutrality. Judgment means that you're doing something versus non-judgment means that you're being something or you're present. We know that the water is where presence happens. Neutrality, right? Not trying to figure anything out or attaching, instead accepting or witnessing. Okay? And so that's what I got about that. I actually have many more pages, but I don't have the capacity. It's only a little bit left though. But I also have another book because I started sleeping with a book next to me because I just be getting messages all the time. Even when I'm trying to sleep, they be talking to me and I'm like, stop talking to me. I'm literally trying to sleep. Like, please leave me alone. But at the same time, don't leave me alone because this is some good shit. So let me put a marker here so I figure out where we was next time. All right, I don't know if I'm gonna be on here tomorrow because I'm tired today, like extremely tired. I also just had started a new workout in the gym because I change my workout every 3 weeks. And so I just started, I'm on my first week of a new workout, which is just always exhausting because like my body's not used to doing it yet. So a hoe is tired. And I went to Olivia Dean's concert yesterday. It was such a magical experience. Like, talk about a concert about girlhood. Like, the person next to, on both sides of me were people, younger girls who came by themselves, and we all just danced and sang all night. Like, everybody was dancing, everybody was singing, everybody was like, it was so great. And she had such a good time. Like, she was dancing on the stage. Like, it was such an interactive concert and an interactive experience. Like, I could not believe that I was experiencing it. And I was on a high when I left, and I kept seeing 333 everywhere when I left yesterday. But I was on a motherfucking high. And I just got in the car and started playing it again, baby. I couldn't get enough. Like, it was a great experience. I don't think I've ever, and the crowd was so loud, like everybody was screaming. And it wasn't lost on me because she said that the last time she was in LA, she played at the Fonda. This was at the crypto. She packed the fucking crypto center out. And before that, she was playing at the Fonda. Do y'all know how small of a venue the Fonda is? That's crazy. Like, she made me feel like anything is possible, that you can have anything you want. You know, and one of her songs is my ancestor song, the song about her grandma. And like a whole crowd singing that while I'm like thinking about my grandma. Oh my gosh, it was just it was such a good experience. If you get a chance to see her while she is here, please go see her. Like, it was, Olivia Dean. She's a UK artist, but she put out an album that won a Grammy called The Art of Loving. But like, I love all of her music. Like, it ain't a song that she got, because she's speaking from self-respect. She's speaking from self-worth. She's speaking from clarity. I don't think a lot of the girls be doing that. Like, a lot of people be speaking from them still being hurt inside of the situation. She's speaking from get the other side. Once you get to the other side of it. So it just was a great experience. I'm so grateful that I got to experience that. But anywho, I'm gonna go ahead and go. I'm gonna put this on the podcast immediately after this. So just give me I would say give me like 30-40 minutes. This should be up on the podcast. I might be on here tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure because I'm tired. I'm probably gonna take the whole day tomorrow just to chill and relax. But I probably should be back on here on Friday. Okay. So thank you for coming and hanging out with me. I love y'all deep. I will talk to y'all soon. All right. Bye. Whoo, I'm hot.